time, I'll accept nominations for chairman of the Board of Supervisors.
I'd like to nominate Mickey Barlow as chairman.
Is there a second for that nomination?
I'll second it.
Okay, are there any further nominations for chairman? If there being no further nominations, I'll call for a vote on Mr. Barlow as chairman of the Board of Supervisors for 2020. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion passed. I'll turn the meeting over to Mr. Barlow.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Guy, for joining us here tonight. Hopefully we have a successful year here in the township and you being a part of the board. I would like to, at this time, to nominate Bob Jackson as the vice chair for the board.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, I probably should have stayed.
Yeah, okay.
No, I'll accept it.
Okay. All right. Mr. Jackson is the vice president. Appointed secretary treasurer, if they're not only wait, I'll take a motion from the board for secretary treasurer.
I think we should I'll nominate Wendy Peck as secretary treasurer.
And I'll second that.
All right, it's seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Her pay is to be $21.66 an hour. Make a motion for that.
Put it here, I'm sorry.
$21.66 is her pay.
Yes.
You did second.
Is that a
I'll
motion?
second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right, we have appointed an alternate secretary. I'll make a motion that we have Bobby Kaiholtz as our alternate secretary.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The pay is to be set by the auditors. Then we have appoint an alternate treasurer.
I'd like to nominate Bob Jackson to that position.
I'll second that. That also is to be set by the auditors for trend. All right, we appoint a roadmaster.
Got to vote on that, don't we?
Yes, we're gonna, I think we're gonna go out of line here. Should we go out of line here? Use this building roadmaster position. Should we do
Yes,
that first?
you may put that at the end of the meeting if you desire. You do not have to do that now.
Okay. All right. We're taking appointments for roadmaster.
Due to circumstances, I'm going to nominate Mickey with his background and so forth here at the township for the interim roadmaster. You see what we're going to do?
I'm going to abstain because I think we need to have some discussion on that further before we make an appointment. Or I would alternately move the table until we have an executive session to discuss the subject.
I will second your motion.
For tabling or for the appointment?
For the
For
appointment.
appointment.
Appoint part-time road crew.
Sorry, Mr.
We need to
Barlow.
take a vote.
Oh, take a vote, I'm sorry.
Call for the-
Take a vote.
Since I objected, I think I would vote no.
Aye.
Appoint part-time road crew.
And that pay will be set by the auditors also.
That is correct. As of right now, I would make a motion that Bobby Kaiholt would continue to be one of our people on our part-time road crew.
I'll second that.
And then Bruce Petcher. Under the circumstances we have, we need a backhoe operator at times. Bruce Petcher is right over here in the corner. He's expressed an interest to be a backhoe operator for us when we need it, on as need basis. So I make a motion that we also give his application and put him on as a backup backhoe operator.
Well, those are two separate things. One is getting an application, the other is putting them on. Shouldn't we review the application before we?
You don't know him?
Pardon?
You don't know Bruce Petcher?
I don't know how well he can run a backhoe.
What is it, 28 years in Carroll Valley, he just retired. backhoe.
Oh, okay.
Cemetery.
And a cemetery. The only reason he's making is for opening up roads for snowplow, because now we're showing snowplow.
He can drive
We
his
probably should vote on Mr. Title's first.
Mr. Carlo, we didn't call for the number yet.
Yeah.
For part-time.
Does he can drive the plow, snowplow?
Mhm.
Withdraw my reservation about qualification.
Thank you, Bob.
And until he drives that plow into a ditch.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a motion, had a second for Bobby. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Have a motion for Bruce Petcher. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, set the police chief's hourly rate.
Mr. Bobby, can I just pause for a second? When do you want to set the pay rate for Mr.
That's to be determined
Okay.
when he gets his application in.
Okay, great, thank you.
Next is the police chief's hourly rate. I have it as $28.61. Do I have a motion to set it at $28.61?
I'll second that motion.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Set part-time police hourly rate. And we have the motion, the rate is $20.40.
I'll second that.
I'll make the motion.
All in favor?
We're going backwards.
Oh,
Aye.
thank you.
I'll have to make the motion before you can
Yeah,
say.
you do.
What's that pay rate again?
$20.40.
$20.40? Thank you.
Next one is number 12, appoint a solicitor. Do I have a motion?
I'd like to make a comment if I may. I'm gonna vote no on appointing Mr. Lisco as solicitor. And I would like to just say a word of explanation. First of all, John is a gentleman and a very nice guy. A while ago, I gave him a performance evaluation. I'm not gonna comment on any of the contents of that evaluation because some of it was confidential and proprietary, and so I'm not going to make any comments. But I do have two real concerns. And on these concerns, I think John and I are just diametrically opposed, or maybe we aren't, but we're at least don't look at it the same way. And the first one has to do with the information that we pass on to the township. And one of the things that we do and other townships do is we hold these executive sessions and we make the township sit out here twiddling their thumbs while we sit in the other room debating. And I think that's unnecessary in 90% of the cases. I don't have any actual facts, but thinking back over the years, 90% of the time that we've sat in there keeping people waiting, we could have been out here telling them what was going on. And I think that's a bad mistake. And we've got a couple of real crucial issues that have taken place. One of them was a lawsuit against me and John Bostic in the township for sunshine violation. That's been kicking around for 3 years now. And I'm asked on a regular basis, what happened to it? Where is it? What's going on? Well, the comment that it's under litigation, I can't discuss it. Well, I think we can discuss it. We don't have to tell them the problems or the unresolved part, but we can certainly discuss and tell them what is factual known, and there's quite a bit factually known about it in the court records right this time. The second was the Liesta thing. Same thing. That's been going on for, I think, over 2 years, 3 years, and the constant question is, what's going on? She stole $300,000 from us. What is going on? Tell us. Well, we haven't said a word except this is under litigation and therefore we can't discuss it, which irritates me as a taxpayer and certainly must irritate the people out here. So I think I'm really in favor of sunshine activities when it comes to informing the public in this community what we do. We are working for you guys out there, and how can you tell whether we're doing a good job if we don't tell you what's going on? And I'm saying that we do spend an inordinate amount of time unnecessarily in a closed session when we could be doing it in public. And I'm going to just go on and take a minute more if I may. There was an article this morning in the paper. Mount Joy Township's in a big uproar. More should be done to keep residents informed, especially those in such a rural area, unable to attend meetings, can't read newspaper, public notices, or don't have email, according to the person who made the comment. I mean, it just happened to be very appropriate right now. And then our esteemed new chairman made a few comments at our meeting the other day along those lines. The supervisors concurred on the importance of township transparency and taking the necessary steps to keep residents in the loop. Information can be countered and used by, information that can be countered and used to the disadvantage of the township, of course, is an exception. And there are some of those. And probably one of them is the one we're doing right now, a personnel evaluation of the solicitor. That probably should be done behind closed doors in executive session, but that I've been advised that's not allowed, so I'm not doing it that way. I'm doing it open public. Anyway, that's my one. And my second concern is the Sunshine Act. The Sunshine Act is, I call it a boogeyman. It's just a disgrace, and our esteemed former solicitor said, that act is the most read and least understood of any law issued in the state of Pennsylvania. Now, that's not an exact quote, because I gave my quoting book to Bobby Cowell so he could read up on it. One of the things it says is decisions and deliberations are illegal, but a discussion is okay. And the next paragraph, it says, deliberation is a discussion. Now, go figure that one out. The whole act is full of things like that, and as a result, we are gun shy and we don't discuss anything. But we can't. We have an auditors meeting coming up in a week or two.
Tomorrow.
Pardon?
Tomorrow.
I'm talking about the outside.
The actual audit.
Oh.
They're coming in here to make a presentation like they've done every year, and we have been advised that only one of us can attend that audit to find out what the audit report is. Now, I think that's unnecessary, and I think it's counterproductive. And, Mickey and I both go to the COG meetings. That's illegal because there's two of us, a majority, going to the COG meeting.
You said one thing, and I said the other side, so,
Okay, how do you know we didn't have a little chit chat?
because I know I didn't have a chit chat.
Well, I
I know I
think
didn't have, you can say what you want to, but
the
I
point
didn't.
is, we should not go to functions together. You know, we probably couldn't even go to a Christmas party.
That's not true. I'm not gonna get into the sunshine
You
laws.
don't interrupt me,
It's
I'm
just
almost
not true.
finished.
It's not true. But go ahead.
Okay. Anyway, that's my concern. I think we are handcuffing our operation in our township by not allowing us to get together and talk. We can't go out and ride on the roads together and see what they look like, because it might be a violation of the Sunshine Law. And right down the line, and it just brings, in the good old days, we used to do it, and we got a lot more conversing done, and now we come to meetings sometimes. These two we got here, this Apostolic Church thing, and the one over on Middle Creek, I don't have the faintest idea what's going on in those two cases, and we can't even vote on it because we haven't discussed it. And when we do vote on it, we probably won't know much more than we do right now. So anyway, that's a long way of saying I think we're being put upon by the Sunshine Act. I went to Sunshine Act training school, intensive training put on by PSATs, and talked to the people there. Say that very few prosecutions are made under the Sunshine Act, and even fewer penalties. Why? Well, the number one reason is that the lawyer told me who ran this school is that it's so damn expensive to sue somebody. Our Sunshine Law case is now at $45,000 at this cost for the lawyers that are defending the township. $45,000, and it's still going on. But it's so expensive. And what is the penalty? The penalty is a $100 fine, and that's the first offense. And intent has a lot to it. If you intend, if you go off in the closet intentionally and tell people you're gonna circumvent the public by holding a special meeting, that's bad intent and that's not approved. But I don't think, I would never encourage us to break the law or to do anything that in private could and should be done in public. So for those reasons, I'm prematurely casting my vote no.
I'll make a nomination that we nominate Tom Lisco as our solicitor for 2020. You have a second?
Yes, you do, and I'd like to say something about all what Bob said real quick. While I agree with some of the things you said, because I sat on that side of the table, the law is the law. And that gentleman over there kind of keeps us in bounds, and that's his job, and that's what we pay him for. So having said that, and considering also, Bob and Mickey, Mr. Barlow, where we are with a lot of things right now, we'd be remiss, in my opinion, to make a change. Could be something we consider down the road, but right now, I think it'd be a terrible mistake. So having said that, I'll second Mickey's nomination.
Call for a vote. Ayes?
Aye.
Nays?
No.
Okay. The next one we have is an alternate attorney, and I'm going to nominate Zach Mills to be our alternate attorney. He was with us with the Leota case. He's not with us on that anymore, but he is still willing to be the alternate in case Mr. Lisco cannot be with us. So, do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that. I'll second that. He's familiar with what's going on here too.
Call for a vote.
Hey, aye?
Aye.
I think in good conscience, after my little sermon, I have to say no.
Okay. All right. Number 13, planning, appointed planning board and commissions solicitor. Make a nomination that we have John Lisco for the planning commission. Do I have a second?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Aye. Appointed township engineer. Do I have a motion?
KPI?
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointed sewer enforcement officer.
KPI once again?
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointed zoning officer.
Our current is Municipal Alliance, is that correct?
That is correct.
Yes, I'd like to nominate them for the zoning officer.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointed alternate zoning officer.
I'd like to nominate the same, Municipal Alliance.
For a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointed building code officer.
Once again, Municipal Alliance.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appointed zoning hearing board member for 3-year term. I have 4 names that have expressed interest, so I will name them out. Diane Biddle, which is coming off of the board, Cindy Arntz, Sherry Kite, and Tom Keigel. Do I have a nomination?
I'll nominate Diane Biddle.
Any other nominations?
I'd like to nominate Tom Kyles.
Mr. Keigel, are you here?
Yeah.
Could you please stand up and tell us about you? If you don't mind, just briefly.
Born and raised in the Emmitsburg area, I'm from down there. I've lived in the Fairfield, Carroll Valley area after my graduation from college. I've been basically mostly involved in law enforcement with the chief of police in Emmitsburg for 8 years. Most of my background is in law enforcement. I have a bachelor's degree in both history and political science, and a master's degree in juvenile delinquency. Worked for the state of Pennsylvania in that field. Like I said, lived here, and now I live on 35 College Trail. I've been living, just bought a place here on College Trail about a year ago. We lived in Carroll Valley for a long time, and then after, like I said, I've been in this area my whole life. Turned 65 in December, 30th. So that's my formal education. Had my own business for a while, about 10 years, landscaping business and that type of thing. Then I got back into juvenile, into the law enforcement. So most of that's happened, but I've been around, like my family's been in this area forever. So that's all. I like this area.
The zoning hearing board, you understand what that position is, the
Yes.
zoning hearing board?
Yeah.
It's to, anytime we have a dispute in the township that comes before the board, we deny it, they get an appeal, so they come and lose two people, and now they have to look at that and make a decision in impartiality if they can. So I would second Bobby's motion for that, because I think if we have a new blood come into the township and want to do that, that's awesome. So, congratulations.
Been a long time since I've been
I got
called new blood.
I call for a vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you.
Board work. Hopefully we won't work with it, because I've only seen 2 hearing boards in 4 years.
Same.
So it's probably not good news. Hopefully. The next thing would be, appoint a vacancy board chair. This would be an alternate, well, it's considered a vacancy board chair, an alternate supervisor is what's been termed, but that's not really the right term, is it?
No, the vacancy board chairman only comes into play if one of the other supervisors resigns or or any other reason is unable to serve. Then the vacancy board chairman and the other 2 supervisors select his replacement. They don't do it within 30 days, then the Adams County Board of Common Pleas selects the individual to serve.
It's my understanding that the vacancy board man would only become involved if the 2 remaining supervisors could not agree on the candidate.
No, I'm not 100% certain on that. I believe he, for practical purposes, that may be fact. But,
Well,
yeah, I don't know the answer to that one, but if, in any event, he's not an alternate supervisor,
no.
you know.
It
And I guess
would
if
amount to
you
the
want,
same thing, wouldn't it?
what's that?
Would amount to the same thing, wouldn't it?
No, because he would just sit as the chairman, and then they would select the new supervisor.
Yeah.
I guess he could be the individual selected,
I don't,
but
We have, in other words, the vacancy chairman and the remaining 2 supervisors then would vote upon the selection.
yes.
So he would be the tiebreaker, in other words.
Correct.
He would be the tiebreaker in case the 2 existing supervisors
Right,
could not
that's the way I
agree.
think. that's the way I understood it to be.
Mhm.
Well, we can revisit that later.
And you say it's 30 days before it goes to Court of Common Pleas?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't decide within 30 days after the resignation.
Do we have any nominations for vacancy board supervisor?
Yes, I'd like to nominate John George. He's a longtime resident, as well as businessman, well-connected. I'd like to nominate him for that position.
Is he the Joe that does inside our work?
Yep.
Any other
Is he
nominations?
agreeable? I mean, you have to ask him first.
John,
You
are
can
you
ask
agreeable?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mr. Jackson, you are correct. The remaining 2 supervisors, if there is a vacancy, they have 15 days to make an appointment. If they don't make an appointment within 15 days, then the vacancy board chairman sits with the other 2 and they vote. And then if they don't make it within 30 days, then it goes to the Adams County Court of Common Pleas. So, but that individual, I mean, like, as I said, I guess he could be the supervisor appointed, but it doesn't automatically mean by any means that he's the supervisor to take the place of the individual who resigns or doesn't serve for whatever reason.
Well, that's the way I understood it.
Any more nominations?
Well, we only have one, don't we?
Yeah. Yeah, second?
Uh, I guess my thinking is that we haven't had a use for a vacancy board chairman in 20 years, so it's not exactly an overworked position. But we need somebody who's.
Question.
Yes.
Could it be one of the judges, like a magistrate?
No. We have to set that here tonight.
Yeah.
And you have to ask them ahead of time to make sure they're in agreement first.
Okay.
Well, I'll tell you, I'll renominate Paul Harner. He is the current one, and he hasn't had an occasion to be used in that capacity since I've been here, but he is the existing one. And I do know him, I don't know about John George. I know the name.
All right, I'll second John George's nomination.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Appointed delinquent per capita tax collector. We have York Adams tax. Don't say, that's the only one we have, Sam. I'll make a motion that we appoint them.
One second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Appoint chief administrative officer for all pension plans. I'll make a nomination that we appoint Wendy to that position.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Silk Elliott Kearns has already been confirmed. We just need to reconfirm that Silk Elliott Kearns will be the township's auditors for 2020. I'll make a motion that we be our auditors for 2020.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Barlow, I just want to, it's for the 20 year, 2019, just to be clear for the
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Number 24, name of deposit for funds. I nominate ACNB and Plicka. You have a second?
Yes, I'll second
All in favor?
that. Aye.
Set bond, treasurer amount for $800,000. Do I have a motion for that?
I'll make a motion, we set the bond at 800,000.
A second?
I'll second that.
All right, so we can adjourn this meeting. I have a motion to adjourn the meeting. Of the meeting.
Second motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, we do the roll call again? No?
Since we adjourned, we have to see something.
Okay.
All right.
All right, call this meeting to order.
We ever say it's pledge allegiance again?
Can we do roll call, please?
Yes. Mr. Barlow,
Here.
Mr. Jackson,
Here.
Mr. Kyholt,
Here.
Public comment? Any public comment?
Yes. As I said before, a couple months ago, it's not good to have our supervisors working on the road. I don't agree with that. I've seen corruption in the past, and it's very tempting. And here we are, you appointed yourself supervisors of the road, to work on the road. You might do good work, very possible, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. We should be hiring someone else to work on our road,
Okay.
not Barlow or Kyholtz. I don't agree with that. Also, Bob is really first in line to be supervisor. He's had more experience with this than any one of you. Yet you overlooked him to take control of all of this. You took control of all of this, appointing your friends and asking people that have already been in place and done a good job. I don't like it. And I think many people here don't like it either.
I get that if I may.
Yes.
Bob and I talked probably back in the fall sometime about a lot of things in the township right after the primaries. And one of the things that he had said, and has repeated in many conversations since then, he said he did not have to be chairman, he understands it's been typically the man with the whiskers in the past, is his verbiage. Yeah, I got the whiskers, but I'm not. But we've had that discussion, and we talked about a lot of this the other day in the meeting.
I can
That was in
verify
town,
that.
and Mr. Swire was here. So a lot of this was discussed. We had did a preliminary thing and did it publicly, and Mr. Swire, the newspaper, and a friend of his was about the only one that came, I think.
Yeah, and I mentioned, one of the things I mentioned about Mr. Jackson was that there was a discussion about what does the chairman actually do, what was his job, and it was just mainly to run the meeting, okay, and tell people to shut up, okay, and Bob is kind of a creeper. And I just said it, I said it, it's my opinion, that's all, but it wasn't done under the table, it was an open meeting, and I was sitting here watching it happen. And Mr. Jackson, he did not have an opinion either way.
Who's gonna watch the hours that you put in? And you're signing your own paycheck, you're signing your own time card?
That's not true. So you're making accusations that you don't even
No.
know are true.
Barlow,
They're not
we saw this before.
true. You
You
didn't see
you
it.
were a part-time worker and you put yourself in for holiday pay.
I
A
did
lot
not.
of holiday pay.
Agatha.
Yes, you
Your
did.
time up. Your time
And you
is
were
up.
not allowed to do
Agatha,
that.
your time is up. You have no proof of that, and that was also approved by the supervisor. This is the end of the conversation.
It's not the end of the
It's
conversation.
in the-
And
it's
you
in.
cannot quiet
No.
me down, Mr. Barlow.
You're done. Next.
And you better, someone has to watch him, his hourly pay and what he does.
That's
That's
set
right,
by
And I
the-
hope someone here does that.
That's our job.
Hey, I'll watch him.
I hope so.
I'll give you my word on that.
Somebody's gotta do it. Are you gonna go out there and do it?
Well, and the other thing is, Agatha, it's extremely difficult to hire people that have some background or experience to run the equipment, number one. I don't know how many people you know personally that have a CDL or can go out here and be called out any hour of the day or night or continue to take care of the roads with a piece of equipment like that that has experience that's going to take $15 an hour, and that's what we get paid. They almost pay that at Sheets. I mean, so stop and think about it. To go through that process, you're not going to get somebody to come out here at 2 o'clock in the morning or 10 o'clock at night out of a warm home and plow snow for $15 an hour. I can speak for myself, and I will. I'll tell you and everybody else sitting here that my interest is purely in the township and the citizens. And I can assure you that I'll do my best to take care of the job as a part-time employee. And I feel the same about Mickey too. It's not an easy job. You know, back in November when we had that flash flood and a lot of rain, you know, everybody was in their house while the wind's blowing and the rain's coming down, and we go get trees off the road because people couldn't get through. You gotta be on call 24 hours.
I understand, my husband was too. Let me just say this, I thank you for explaining this, rather than telling me to shut up. I want to thank you for that. That's what we need, and that's why I'm afraid of this guy, because he does not explain well.
Agatha, you and I
You're
sat on school,
short.
we sat on
But I
school
want to
board
thank you
together.
anyway
You're
for
welcome.
your expression.
You're welcome.
Anyhow, Mark, I mean,
Same difference. It's the same thing.
all right, Judy.
I wasn't at the special meeting last week, so the only thing I really know about it is what I read in the paper. And the one thing I was concerned about is that citizens are directly calling Mr. Lisco for advice, and that apparently the township has been paying Mr. Lisco for those.
Judy,
I just want to finish.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
What was I saying?
Citizens are calling
I cannot
Mr.
think of
Lisco
any citizen
and the
calling me
township.
for advice.
Well, that's what I want to know, not everything you read in the paper is
Right,
correct.
I mean, who did they say
I
call
wasn't
me
at the
for
meeting.
advice?
We didn't say
Read
it,
in
we
the
just said,
paper that the that
we had residents calling,
You got that article? Yeah.
he said the article.
The contracted and appointed. I think you were generally talking
We
about
were generally talking about the
the
contract.
contracted
Calling
and
the
appointed
contract.
person's not.
I don't
appointed.
remember
Here,
any, I mean, if any, I don't remember any citizen asking me for advice.
let me
Calm.
interject. I went back to July and checked every invoice that you sent us. Not one phone call was made to you by any citizen. And as far as who made the comment,
I made a comment, but we were talking,
taxpayers should not contact the township, Mr. Lisco, or the zoning officer directly with questions.
that's correct.
We have to stop these residents contacting the solicitor on their own, asking him questions.
And that came from a comment from Mr. Gladhill, who was directed to you. At the
I've
meeting.
never talked to Mr. Gladhill other than what was said at the meeting.
That's what I'm
What was
talking
said at the
about.
meeting that I can't give him any advice because I represent the township.
And that's exactly right.
That's, yeah, it was taken out of context. He was responding to someone
Yeah.
asking why you were not answering Mr. Gladhill, why you weren't.
Yeah, I said,
You
this is
are,
what I said.
that's how, so that was taken out of context. Because it was all in defense or explanation of why you didn't answer him directly.
Yeah.
Well, to answer your question,
No,
that's why you can't believe what's in the paper. And I would just like to comment, I would just like to comment, and I know it's over 200 jury trials. I have never seen an article in a newspaper admitted into evidence for that same reason. It's all hearsay, and it's half of the time it's inaccurate.
Right, well, I just wanted to clarify that, and also, I think we should clarify with Andrea, she's not here tonight, I guess it's not a Tuesday,
She's in for bad.
so she's at another
She's at
township,
another
but
town.
I think that that's the kind of thing that should be corrected in the paper.
Well, yeah, because the one comment is true that our residents are contacting our zoning enforcement officer directly. And they're not going through Wendy, and they're calling him directly. As soon as they call him directly and ask him anything, it initiates a $45 an hour charge. As soon as they call him, we have to stop that. The procedure is, if you have a complaint about someone, or you want to talk to the zoning officer, you talk to Wendy, set up an appointment, and to do that, you don't go past Wendy, it's got to go through her. Darren is not very happy that some residents has his cell phone number, and they call him whenever they feel like it, with a legitimate complaint or not a legitimate complaint, and he goes out and responds and finds out with Sherry that it's not a legitimate complaint, so we had a $45 an hour employee, contractor, and a $28 an hour person out there when it was not a legitimate, right?
Correct.
So we've got to stop that. That money's being spent wastefully, and residents are spending it. So that's what that whole thing is about. Yes.
There were several pay rates mentioned tonight, but I didn't hear any pay rate from Mr. Lisco or Mr. Mills.
My rate's $120 per hour, and I believe Mr. Mills, it used to be 80. Is it still, is it still?
I don't have that information in front of me.
Yeah, I mean,
We just got that this afternoon. I didn't. read it.
I'm pretty sure his rate is 80.
yeah, well, I'm gonna say, the only contact I got from him, it wasn't changing.
Yeah, well, if it's not changing, then it's 80.
It was changing.
Thank you.
Mhm. Any other comments?
Maybe I just have a question. On the fire tax, it was
Your name,
David Martin.
just for the public, we all know you,
Martin.
some people don't.
Well, anyway, what we were communicating before and what we ended up getting with Fairfield and Fountaindale was different. And we never got an explanation as to why it changed or anything like that.
We voted in our last meeting to change, instead of dispersing the fire tax out 10, 10, 10, it was going to be done by call ratio, percentages. So that's how it got distributed that way, it's by percentage. Which I was very surprised that Emmitsburg actually had more calls than anyone else. That kind of surprised me.
Right, we do, but that's not, what we actually have values given to us from Fairfield and Fountaindale. We didn't get nowhere near that. We submitted the bills for it like we were supposed to do,
Right.
but we didn't get that, even though it said that in the paper, and it was communicated to me through Wendy.
I'm sorry, what was said in the paper? That you
It
were
was
gonna
the-
get a certain amount?
Yes, they actually had the amounts in the paper, in the Emmitsburg paper,
Oh, Emmitsburg paper.
yes.
We were doing percentages based on call ratio.
Correct.
And then when I asked you to reconfirm your calls, because originally I thought you had a higher number of calls, remember?
Right,
Because you gave me the total for the whole area and it
right,
wasn't
that was
Liberty
for
Township.
Fairfield, right.
So when we first were looking at the call ratio, we had the whole Fairfield area as your total number of calls for Liberty Township, which inflated the amount we thought we were
Because
gonna
it even had the percentage in the Emmitsburg paper.
Well, the percentage is still the same, or, well, I can provide you with that information
Okay.
of how we distributed it, which shows the number of calls that each fire department reported, what they did for the year for Liberty Township, based on the percentages and then the amount. that
Yes,
they
I believe it's, if I remember correctly, Emmitsburg had 21 calls, Fairfield had 17, and Fountaindale had 13. And it was done by a percentage basis, but we did.
Oh, did Emmitsburg get $13,000?
I don't have that number in my head.
Well, in your report here, it says that,
If that's in the, is it in the financial report?
yeah.
Yeah,
Emmitsburg
they got-
13,000,
Yep.
Fairfield got 11, and Fountaindale got 8.
Yes, that's correct. That's how it was
And,
distributed.
and again, we,
Well, we weren't told that. I'm honest, we weren't told that.
You asked me how much do we get, and I said, this is how much it looks like. This is, we have 30, what did we have?
33,000.
33,000. I was basing it on a 30, a one-third, one-third, one-third.
Right.
Because I was speaking to you before we had the meeting,
Right.
where the board decided to go ahead with percentage of calls. And that's when they voted to do percentage of calls. And at that point, I had a high number, which was the incorrect number from you, because it was miscommunication, and I had all of Fairfield instead of just Liberty Township. And then when you correctly gave me the Liberty Township number, we plugged that in, and that's what the percentage came out to be.
now what we're gonna do, Dave, next year, because Bob did mention that in the meeting too, we was gonna do it by percentage this year for the fire tax to go up, but we're gonna relook at that, because that kind of seemed out, it didn't seem to kind of
We
wash out.
weren't expecting it to.
Yeah, we wasn't expecting it to wash out like that.
I mean, like I told you before, we get nothing for going into Frederick County.
Right,
I don't
absolutely,
have a thing against Emmitsburg,
right, right.
a great bunch of guys, but we don't get a cent for going into Frederick County, either Fairfield or Fountaindale.
Right, yeah,
But you guys are paying them to come into Frederick County.
right.
Just something to think about.
Yeah, oh, yeah, that's what you think, Dave, appreciate that. Anyone else?
I had one, I was gonna comment under the minutes though, but when the minutes, are these correct? The workshop meeting minutes, it has percentages for the 3 fire companies. And the 6% for Emmitsburg. I think,
That's probably an error.
yeah,
You
that-
reviewed them, so they look fine. So when we,
these were the numbers that we started out with before you found the
oh yes,
correction.
that is correct. That said, when we were,
At that time, when
at
we
that time when we had
Had the
all of
meeting.
Fairfield instead of just Liberty Township reporting for
yeah, then,
Fairfield Fire Department,
yeah, you had,
that's how it came out.
yeah, Fairfield had 56%, but that was an error, and it was, but that was the figure that was presented at our staff meeting, later corrected.
Right,
Unfortunately.
yes, that's exactly what that was.
And then we found out at 37.5.
Right, and then once we got the corrected number from Fairfield Fire Department, the ratios changed.
All right, any other public comments?
Just a quick question, and it doesn't have to be answered now, but we started this process last year about codification of everything, and we've heard like nothing about what's going on. So I think it would be helpful periodically to just report what's
Okay.
going on.
I'll add that to the agenda and then we can, well, once we figure out who wants to be in charge of the project and one of the supervisors is so appointed, we'll be able to report on the progress of the codification. But for now, I am overseeing it. They have, all of the documents. They did come back and say some things were missing and they hadn't considered assets for resolutions because we discovered some of our, they just asked for ordinances at first, but then we discovered some of our laws were passed by resolution and they would be missing, including some of the taxes. And that would be missing from the codification. So then I had to go back and research all of the resolutions that we had and see what was significant and send that. So now they have all that. And I expect something probably the end of January, early February to come back from them after they've done their review process and put that all back together again. They did tell us it could take 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I know it would take a while, but it
Yeah.
just.
But that's
To
the
have
point.
a status report.
That's where we are right now. It's in the hands of the classification company, and they're reviewing all the rest of our documents and putting that in, to include the resolutions that were significant. Okay?
Any other comments? Okay, close that part of the meeting. Supervisor comments.
Couple of quickies here. Is it my turn?
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, the bridge on Boyle Road. This is the project that was to be done in last July, and if it wasn't done in July, it was guaranteed by the end of November. And my wife discovered that the bridge has been fixed, and she made sure I had to bring it up tonight and explain that I was remiss in not reporting it earlier. The bridge is pristine, back to first construction appearance, and will probably last forever that way. Second thing is minor thing, private road signs on private roads. We have a road sign that's fallen down or dilapidated, can't be read, and we're going to charge the people for the new sign. But turns out if we charge them for the new sign for their private road, they can get any kind of sign they want and put up there. So we have to have some control of it. And it turns out that we've been providing the signage for even the private roads, courtesy of the township. And so we will continue that. I guess I'm going to have to make a motion, but the plan is we'll make sure they're uniform and they properly installed and they shine up the way they should and so forth. So that's been our practice, and I make a motion that we continue to do it that way. Provide these signs for the private roads.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anything else, Bob?
No.
Bobby, go ahead.
Well, that is a deep, dark, wet subject, and I'm gonna take the advice of Richard Swide, I quit. But anyhow, thanks everybody for whoever in this room did vote for me, and I do appreciate it. I'm looking forward to being a supervisor. It sure is different sitting on this side of the table, I can tell you that. Been told by many people that have been around this sort of thing that this is a thankless job, and I'm sure it will turn out to be so. I'm not going to give you my cell number, but I'm around. If there's concerns or thoughts, I'd certainly be glad to hear them and talk to you about them. My door's open, so to speak. I'm looking forward to working with these guys. I think we can make a pretty good team and keep the township moving forward. I'd also like to say thanks to Tom and John for coming in tonight. You showed up and showed your interest, and personally I really appreciate that, and thank you for doing so. I think you guys would be a great addition to our needs of our township. That's really about all I got to say, because I do have a lot to learn. I'm starting some classes in the 24th, and making some moves there. Wendy's been very helpful with that, and I thank her for what she's done for me so far. So I wanted to be the assistant treasurer or the backup treasurer, but I thought I'd make a better looking secretary than Bob. So I mean, I don't want you sitting on anybody's lap, Bob. But anyhow, yeah. So looking forward to it. I got to get with Wendy and get that all somewhat under control. So once again, thank you all, and I'm here to work for you and for the betterment of the township.
The only comments I have, I want to comment a couple of things, is we're going to do some things a little bit different than we've done in the years past. We're going to have one public comment during the meetings. We're going to start allowing two public comments. Both of them will be 15 minutes each. So the first one, as we've already did, can address whatever you want to address. The second one, we're going to do it with new business, under new business. We're going to have a public comment section under the new business. We won't say The comments under that section would be pertaining to new business, nothing else, just a new business part of it. So that way you can get more interjections, if you want to put some thought into what's on the agenda, you can have an opportunity to do that, and then we'll go into discussion on the motions to be made. But we haven't had that before. I'm going to recommend that we do that, that way you give the public more time to comment in different sections of it. Because normally, the way meetings run, once the public comment section is shut down, that's it. There's no more dialogue and back and forth, and discussing, it's on the business of the township is being run. That's how it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be interjection from people in the audience on every subject matter that's there. So anyhow, we're going to try to run it a little bit more efficient. With that being said, that's the only thing I have right now for
Is the comments to begin new business or at the end?
beginning business.
Just want to make sure. Figured so.
Yeah. So, other than that, that's the only comments I have. We'll move on to our minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to review your minutes for the regular meeting? And if so, did I hear a motion to approve? That would be your,
The December
December 3rd meeting, we're gonna be up. I read them and reviewed them and make a motion that we approve them.
And I'll second that.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
December 17th minutes, I make a motion that we approve those.
Got a second?
Question.
Go ahead.
We didn't discuss the tree pending, what the road master had brought up.
No.
Is this the time to do that?
Yeah.
Under the road report, we could
Yeah,
cover.
yeah, yeah.
Down on it.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye. And the last is,
January special meeting, we have a motion to approve the minutes from that.
I'll make a motion to approve those minutes.
Got a second?
Yes, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Treasurer's report.
Balances not including interest for the month ending December 31st, 2019. The general operating payroll fund, $60,545.50. The Pliget General Reserve Fund, $254,335.64. The Pliget Capital Reserve Fund, $95,956.10. Liquid fuels, $11,414.14. Fire tax has amount of $2,350.18. The escrow account is at $3,982.45.
Wendy,
Yes,
on the fire tax.
yes,
Is that the one that came in after the distribution?
yes.
So is this going to apply to 2020?
We actually already have a bill that will be, I don't know if you saw it in the email today, it was for the workers' comp insurance, comes out of there for the fire departments. So we actually have a bill that will be some of that up.
Does anybody have any questions for Wendy on the treasurer's report?
I do. What's the escrow for?
Escrow is when someone puts in a set of plans or something to be reviewed, to have to put down a deposit for the
Gotcha.
engineering cost. And then once that project is closed, then you can release any extra funds, or sometimes they will actually get it in place.
Gotcha.
Any other questions for the treasurer? Do we have a motion to approve the treasurer's report?
I'll do so.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The expenses. Anyone had the opportunity to review the expenses for 12/17 through 1/6?
Yes, I've got a chance to review the expenses and I make a motion that we approve.
Do we have a second?
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, payroll. December 26th. Actually, it's December the 8th through the 21st, retroactive. Anybody had an opportunity to review those?
Well, I did the one today.
Yeah, that would be the second one.
Yeah, that's the second
I think Mr. Rowe, you actually did
You did the
the
first.
December one.
one. Yep.
You make
So
the
I'll make a motion that we approve them.
I'll second. I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then we have for today's
I did that one today, and so I'll make the motion to approve.
I'll second that one. All in favor? All right, police report.
Keep one of those pasted down, please. For the month of December, we worked a total of 193 hours. 95 of those hours were out on patrol. On-call hours were 25 and a half. We did 11 traffic details, had 1 misdemeanor arrest, wrote 8 total traffic citations and 14 warnings, and had 18 total incidents. Did Wendy get one?
Oh,
No.
I get one back.
And PSP was dispatched or given 7 calls in the township in the month of December. Officer Ammerman did participate in 2 roving DUI patrols in December. I participated in a program called Shop with a Cop.
Too bad something.
Actually, it's pretty cool. I know it wasn't in our area, but I was invited by Shippensburg, did their first Shop with a Cop. And when I used to work in York City, the West York Police Department used to do this, and a lot of police departments in the country are starting to do it. With Shippensburg, Walmart sponsored their Shop with a Cop.
What is it?
It is, they actually talk it up in the months coming up to Christmas, and they get donations from the community. And then Walmart also donates some money and gift cards to them. And they get, they go to local school districts and different places in the community and ask for names for kids who are from needy families and who probably wouldn't get much for Christmas without this. And they ask the police officers to come dressed in uniform, and they give each police officer a child to walk around the store with and a gift card. And then that child can pick out gifts for themselves and or for their families for Christmas. And then they had people from the fire department there with wrapping paper who would also gift wrap the presents for the kids if they wanted them gift wrapped. So it was a pretty nice experience. Well worth it. So we did numerous traffic details throughout the month, and we backed up Carroll Valley on a call, and we also backed up Cumberland Township on a call one day when they only had 1 officer out. Some of the things that kind of came to my attention and some of the part-timers that work for me, they're on Orchard Road at 16, and I know this is a road crew type thing, but I know you've discussed it with me before about coming around the turn there on the Orchard off of 16, and part of that is all gravel, and it's rutted up, and it's getting bigger and bigger potholes in it now. We were talking about it, and I know that it would cost a lot of money to put a guardrail up there to keep that from happening. But if somebody, runs off the road there and splits a tire open or does something bad to their car, we were thinking maybe even if we just put some reflective lines there. I know a lot of our roads don't have lines on that side, and I'm not saying do all of Orchard Road, but at least as you're coming around the turn there at Harrington's, maybe we could look at possibly just putting some white fog lines on the side of the road there, because at nighttime it's pretty hard to see when you're coming around there.
One of the thoughts that Brian had about that was to widen, put some paving.
Or put paving on
Put
it. That,
paving
but if you were gonna do that, I'd still put the lines on there,
Just
just.
the lines too, but the state was gonna participate
Okay.
maybe on widening
I
that.
mean, that's kind of out of my
Well, it's
realm of.
the new roadmaster, it'll be
Yeah.
right up the alley.
All right. The other concern that we've kind of seen, and I'm surprised we don't get more accidents there, is if you're on 16 and you're going towards Emmitsburg, you want to make a left on the Steelman Marker Road, if you have to stop for traffic there, I do not make a left there just for that certain purpose, because I don't want to get rear-ended. We might want to think about doing a traffic study or something there and putting up a no left-hand turn sign there.
Well,
That's what I thought you were.
and I don't disagree with that. The problem we have with that, Jerry, is we have to just spend.
There,
Right.
people don't use parking signals.
Right.
Becomes work.
So, I mean, these are just something that I'm,
She said.
The state would have to do that because that's the.
Right.
I totally agree.
I use
yeah,
Taking that all away from left hand turn.
just, just a couple things that, you know, I've seen in my travels and stuff like that. And the only other thing I have, is that, I am looking to hire another part-time officer, so I've been talking to at least one person about, putting in an application. As a matter of fact, I gave it out tonight to possibly hire another part-time police officer.
You announce that Corey is not with us anymore?
Well, he's still with us, it's just that he, was offered a full-time job with another police department, and he starts that full-time job on Wednesday. And, as a condition of that employment, he still will be able to work part-time, but not right away. You know, and I completely understand that they'll want him to, get acclimated with their department and the things that they do and the way that they do things there. And I have talked to the chief from that department, and, we don't have a timeline on when he will be able to, continue to work part-time, but at this time, he's expressed an interest in still wanting to work part-time here, and, you know, would like to get back to it as quickly as he can, because he actually enjoys, working here, so, but in the meantime, you know, we need some more coverage, and so, I have been speaking to someone else about it, and, like I said, I gave out an application for it, so I'll move forward with that and, let you guys know, you know, about that, probably sometime later this week.
Anything else?
That's about it? Yes, sir.
I did talk to you one day prior to my official being a supervisor about a breakdown by each officer.
Oh, we did talk about that, yeah. I don't have that tonight.
Okay, and that's something you're gonna do moving forward then?
We can talk about that.
We need to,
Okay,
yeah, okay,
Okay.
great,
yep.
thank you.
Did you want to talk about the other thing we talked about that day? Or you want me to give that to you later?
I don't
We
care.
talked about some truck stuff.
Yeah, why don't you talk about that?
All right. We talked about, Mr. Keinholz asked me, and we had talked about this before, months ago, when we were talking about truck traffic on Boyle Road and Orchard Road. And Mr. Lisco, I think you and I spoke about it also. We had gotten the signs, remember the signs that we talked about, that just had like the.
That we could put size restrictions
Right.
on, but the weight restrictions, you'd have to do a traffic study.
Right.
That's basically what, and then I think during that process, we asked Wendy to do some research on ordinances. There was some reference somewhere to ordinances, and I
Yeah.
think she found a couple of ordinances that were already in existence
Right.
for one or more of those roads.
Boyle Road, we do have an existing ordinance, and we have written that numerous times now. And I have the vehicle code, part that goes along with that we write it under. That one we can give to Mr. Keitel, because he doesn't have the second part of that, but
Thank
you
you.
guys do. And if you and Mr. Jackson each like one of those, you can give Wendy one in case she wants it. Mr. Lisco, I didn't know if you wanted, it's crimes code, you have that, I'm sure. But the ordinance that we do have states that, registered gross vehicle weight. Registered being the key word in there, and I did talk to, retired Chief, Jim Holler about this, and he's the one who, had the ordinance, worked up, the traffic study done, or however they did it, but got the ordinance, worked up for that. So, it does say that the signs do say registered gross vehicle weight. So that's how we, are able to issue citations on Boyle Road. As far as Orchard Road goes, I mean, that would be up to the supervisors and,
You have to do the traffic
You have to
study
do the-
similar to what
Yeah.
they did on Boyle Road.
right, now,
Except for, the amendments, I don't remember the act number now,
is it 31?
yeah, to the vehicle code says you don't have to do you used to have to do a traffic study even for size restrictions, but now you don't have to do it for size restrictions.
I gave you a copy of that. I think you
Yeah.
got a copy of that before that, but that's
Right.
it. And I gave that to Mr. Keitel, because he didn't get one before.
So we
Yeah.
could If
Yeah,
there are no restrictions on that road, we could put it on. You do have to pass an ordinance, you don't have to do a traffic study, but in the ordinance, you need to state the reasons why
Yeah.
the road needs to be restricted. Trucks of 80 feet long, whatever, you're more familiar with trucks than I am. Semis that are real long, can't make the turn, they swing out into the other lane of traffic, go off the side of the road, cause damage to,
people's
you know,
yards.
people's yards, steep hills, can't handle the hills, residential areas. You know, you don't have to have a traffic study, but you have to have basically common sense reasons why
Yeah.
the road should be restricted. And I think we discussed this previously, we mentioned Steel Marker Road. You could easily put restrictions on that road. Number one, making the turn on the 16, I have trouble with my pickup truck
Sure.
making that turn. There's no way, you know, really, I think a U-Haul truck probably would have trouble making that turn.
Now, we see them bigger than that coming up there, believe it or not.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, and then even when you get to the top of the hill there, it's,
Yeah.
you know, you cannot make those, you know. So, that road, you can do it, or any other, I'm not familiar with all the roads in the township, but any other roads that, again, you feel can't handle that traffic, pass an ordinance, state in the ordinance the reasons why truck traffic should be restricted, and then, you know.
There's an example in
Yeah,
there.
this is kind of the sign you see, no trucks with trailers over 45 feet in length,
Yeah,
you know.
right.
I've seen
Or
those.
something similar to
No
what we have on
combination.
Boyle Road.
Yeah,
You know, and to enlighten some people here, in case you haven't been here to earlier meetings and around this discussion, if I may indulge them.
Sure.
The concern is GPSs are taking these trucks up Orchard over to Boyle Road as shortest route. And just the other morning, well, it's been a month ago, there was a Warner truck sitting down here on Orchard Road, a 53-foot trailer. And a garbage truck broke down in front of him, and a lady went in the ditch because of it.
Well, she was dumb because she,
Well-
I'm sorry, she didn't use very good judgment. She didn't use very good judgment. She
No.
thought she could get around, and it was right after we got a lot of rain, and the ditch was flowing freely with water, and it sucked her right down in the
Yep.
ditch.
At any rate, the problem is twofold here, you know, it's not just a Liberty Township interest of the roads, but it's also a public safety sort of thing. And not only that, I come from a trucking background all my life, and these guys get these GPSs and they go the wrong damn way, and there they are. Where do you turn a truck around that's 75 feet long? You know, so I want to see help for them as well as our township, and that's a concern of mine. So.
And the bridge is fixed on Boyle Road.
Yeah, it might not get broken again, so. But currently, as she was saying, as Chief Hansen was saying, we have in place on Bull Road restrictions, and it's 19 tons gross reserve, is it
I think
19 or
that's- I
20?
think it's 20.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and whichever, but at any rate, the vast majority of citations she has written, which isn't a great amount, but it's still some,
20,000 pounds.
20,000 pound, have been people that are from Timbuktu, you know, they're not from around here, they're going by their GPS, so.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
I don't have anything for the Zoom. Wendy, did you get anything?
It's a report
It's in the back. I didn't see it.
I'll read it.
Good.
It just shows how many. When I say I gave it to you, and then maybe it's not. Payroll. Here it is, it's after all the payroll. All right, so for the month of December, there were 2 land use permits issued, and a total of $180. One's for a full building and one's to replace a gazebo.
That was easy. All right, road reports, for you guys that don't know, Brian Lawrence resigned from the township on 1/2/20. At the end of his day, he turned in his time card to Wendy and the keys to the township, and said he would not be back, so he resigned without notice. So I have to Make a motion that we accept his resignation, his verbal resignation to the township effective 1/2/20. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. As far as road reports, we do have a couple things. Thank you for bringing these up. I'll definitely check on the guardrail and left-hand turn. I do know that has to go to state, to be reviewed by the state for the Stanley marker. But Bobby and I talked a little bit about coming in here and going over all the equipment in the shed out here to make sure the plows are hooked up, because I know one of the plow is not hooked up on the new truck. And also doing hourly maintenance on each one of them. We don't even know there's a record of maintenance being done at all. So we want to get a maintenance schedule on all of the equipment in the township. Also, Wendy and I talked about too, there's supposed to be mapping,
The sign.
sign mapping,
Yeah,
supposed to be done. I know it was done about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, when I was working with Brian on a more,
It's a sign inventory for the.
yeah, the sign in. We did do one of those, but she said she can't find it, so we need to do that. Same way as a pipe inventory, we need a pipe inventory, and then,
We have done that in the past, I don't know when the latest one is, so.
and then we need to be on our salt contract, we have to watch the 15th to, get our site contract in, and then I'll be talking with Josh Hobbs, which is our state representative, District 8, and have him come in, hopefully next week or the week after next, we'll sit down and talk to him about the liquid fuels money that we're gonna be getting in from the roads, and some of the projects that we might be able to do with that, so. As far as roads, planning. I didn't say bird, I said.
All right, the planning commission did not meet in December of 2019, there were no submissions before the commission. We have received approval from the board of supervisors here and from the Adams County Planning Office that we can work with Rob Thaler on signs and solar ordinances. And Rob and I are scheduling those now. I would like some direction from you all as to whether you would like us to start on signs or on solar.
It was especially the illuminated signs.
Yeah, the
Right,
illuminated
right.
signs, yeah.
They're working with the county to,
Right. I would say
amend the ordinance.
I'm asking because the zoning officer at our previous November meeting mentioned to us that there's talk in the town
Yeah,
of some solar applications coming in, and I
Yes.
don't believe we have any.
Over the past few months, there's just been some regularity and interest in doing the permit, and currently they don't.
We have nothing on solar, we do have something on signs.
yeah, so probably should attack the solar one, since it's, because the sign, we already have something in place, the other one we do not.
Okay.
Anybody else have any feelings on that?
The squabble in Mount Joy was over the solar panel project. They're putting solar panels every place they can fit them. It does change the characteristic of the township quite a bit, so I think
It's on the
solar
front
panel.
page of the Times today.
Today, yeah, there was an article.
Solar, that's where the came from. I would say the solar panel should have a priority, since people could come in here tomorrow and start putting them up. We don't have something to stop them.
Did Darren talk to you or send you an email in regards to a nuisance ordinance?
No, we did not.
I'll have him, or one of us will talk to him and have him send that to you, because I believe it's something we might want to look at, and it's a nuisance ordinance.
Okay.
If you put in, we don't have a nuisance, well, we do kind of, but.
We used to.
Yeah, I was saying, I'm not quite sure how that nuisance ordinance reads, but he sent us an updated one to try to help curb some of the problems that we were having with particular people in the area, making complaints about each other, and not being founded, and those can fall under the nuisance ordinance for him. So we'll look at that, and then, of course, the burn ordinance. We're going to look at some type of burn ordinance, not, the county already has a burn ordinance where we can follow the burn ordinance for the county, but I know it's going to come to us, it's already been talked to me and to Bobby about the burn ordinance, so we want to look at try to see if we can get some examples of different burn ordinances in different parts of the county.
I guess we'll have a January meeting.
There you go.
There you go, done it, Jim. Anything else on the planning?
No.
Elected auditors, Mr. Swire, or either, there you go, see.
We did get together.
She's here today. Ouch, 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 that's husband abuse.
I started. We did get together, the three of us, in December. Wendy had found a PSATS sponsored webinar, which was on the computer for an hour. It was pretty interesting. It was about preventing fraud in local government. And again, we're doing as best we can, except for the separation of duties. As far as the invoices, the mail, the checks, the deposits, it's all done by one person. And that's the only thing that still kind of sticks out as far as that we're not doing. Everything else, we're pretty good. You know. They gave us examples of fraud, there's been quite a few lately, and different things, so it was really cool.
Yeah, well, that's something Bob brought up and we've talked about lately, separation of duties, so we're
Okay,
gonna be looking into that.
okay,
We'll
good.
be moving forward with something down the road.
Tell them about our meeting coming up tomorrow.
Oh, we just have our organization meeting tomorrow, yeah.
But it's open to the public.
It's a
Yes,
public
it is.
meeting, just
Is
like
that
this.
advertised?
It's advertised, open to the public tomorrow at 19:30.
Nobody will be standing there.
That's okay. Nobody was there at the supervisors meeting either. Well, wait a minute,
Almost nobody.
almost.
No, I think
I have nobody, like I said.
Have anything else?
No, I think we're good, yeah.
Okay. We're gonna need to go to old business, for the treasury bond claim status. Do you wanna go to executive now, or you wanna?
We need to go into executive session, but before, I just would like to address the reason why we have executive sessions, and I was listening to Mr. Jackson's comments, and over the holidays, my family and I, we went to see a movie, Richard Jewell. I don't know if any of you have ever had a chance, okay. And there was a part in that movie, several parts. Mr. Jewell was accused of bombing. He was innocent, but he was heavily prosecuted by the FBI. And years later, the person who did the bombing actually admitted to it, and so then it was finally determined that he was innocent. So you're dealing with the person who's innocent, but several times during that movie, at one time they were searching his house. And his lawyer said, "Do not say anything, do not say anything." And while the police are in there, he starts talking. And his lawyer's rolling his eyes. I can't think of a more clear example why, when it matters in litigation, you don't discuss it at a public meeting. And I don't represent this board of supervisors, I represent the township. And you are the residents of the township. When I say we need an executive session, I'm trying to help you to prevent anything that could be damaging from coming out in public. And we also have on here the Christ Apostolic Church. And if we go into executive session and discuss that, a statement could be made like, well, that's a church, they should be exempt. That's being taped. One of these supervisors say that, we're in court, they come to the stand, Mr. Jackson, didn't you say at the meeting, we're a church, we're exempt? I don't remember saying that. They play that tape. Boom! You know, that's in front of a jury. That's why we discuss litigation matters in executive session. We have two chiefs of police in here. I was at the DA's office 25 years in the JAC, worked for 5 years. I cannot tell you how many defendants convicted themselves by confessing. Am I right or am I wrong? If they had talked to their attorney and kept their mouth shut, they very well may not have been convicted. It's not only in criminal cases, it's in civil cases. I was involved in a very complex civil case where a drunk driver ran into a young husband, father, 3-year-old son. They went out to Sheets to get a paper. On the way home, drunk driver hit them from behind, pushed their car into the other lane. The Chevy Blazer hit them head on. They both died. Imagine being the state trooper going to tell that mother who had another infant that her husband and 3-year-old son were just killed by a drunk driver. But in any event, when all that played out, the guy coming down made a statement to the insurance adjuster that he had just stopped at Sheetz and he was eating a sandwich and drinking a soda. And that statement actually caused that insurance company also to kick in their policy limits. Now, again, you understand, he's coming down this way, the young husband and father and the child are in this lane, the drunk driver hits him from behind, pushes him over into that lane, and the Blazer hits them head on. But because he said he was at Sheetz, told the adjuster he was drinking soda and eating at the time, it came out that maybe he could have stopped a little sooner, put his brakes on a little sooner, and avoided hitting the young father. So that insurance company settled for the policy limits also, simply because of what. Now, he made that statement to the young father and the daughter's insurance adjuster. But if he had kept his mouth shut, who would have thought that he'd stopped at Sheetz? These small statements, you never know what can be said in public that could come back to, excuse my language, bite you in the butt later on. So we have to have executive sessions. Mr. Jackson, I know you don't agree. I don't know what else you want to inform the public about, Mr. Schaefer. They know that we've tried to get the DA's office to prosecute. Mr. Mills has tried as hard as he could, they've declined. They know that you have decided to not pursue Liesta because it wouldn't be worth paying the attorney's fees. They know that we have recovered $67,000 so far to date. And we can discuss this in executive session later, I don't want it to be discussed here, but I'm just curious as to what else do you want the public to know about that case? I'm not, like I said, I don't want you to tell me because I'm worried that you might say something that can hurt us. But I'd like to know in executive session, what else do you want the public to know? I mean, it's just, I don't understand why, I don't understand that.
I'll tell you.
Okay, let me finish here. You want transparency for litigation matters where they really have to be kept confidential, but yet you feel as though you and other supervisors should be able to discuss township business outside of a meeting, which is clearly a violation of the Sunshine Law. I don't, you want transparency there, you don't want transparency there, but you want it for litigation matters. I just don't, one other thing on the Apostolic Church, you said you know nothing about that. I mean, I sent you a one-page email December 23rd. I also sent you the complete copy of the complaint. Wendy sent it to you with the meeting, it's with the meeting minutes, it's attached as the document. I don't know what else you need to know about the Christ Apostolic Church. I can tell you again, they're appealing it because they believe the property is tax exempt for religious purposes. They believe the assessed value of the property is too high. I mean, that's really what it is. The only decision you need to make there is whether or not you also want me to intervene on behalf of the township. I've explained to you in the letter that since the school district is intervening, the county's also involved. I'm not really sure it's necessary for you to have me involved in the case. But you said you know nothing about it, but yet here's a one-page email dated December 23rd, and you have the complete copy of their appeal.
I'm not revising to say I know very little about it. Like, where is the Apostolic Church? I got a map out of the previous room.
14051 Staley Road.
Yeah, that doesn't help me.
Go up Gladstone.
Well,
I can find it now, but
well, that's in their complaint where the property is located.
Right there.
Yeah.
you're right there. I want to see a picture of it. Anyway, I think you just explained it, right now. I mean, you haven't done that prior to now, except in your thing that you sent me.
Well, I sent you an email December 23rd, and I explained that. You know what, there's more in there than what I said.
How many dollars are involved? Good questions like that. Are we talking about
It's the tax assessment appeals board reduced the assessed fair market value from $2,895,900 to $1,143,300. So that's the amount that we're talking about. I mean, that's in the email, and that's also in the tax complaint, the tax appeal.
Well, I appreciate you sending me the emails, and I'll read them more carefully in the future.
Okay, all right.
And as far as the other one is concerned, you have just done a lot better than saying, look, we can't discuss the bond issue because it's litigation. You gave us a pretty good rundown on it. I think that pretty well answers the questions I've been asked over and over. I didn't hear you answer before then, and I therefore couldn't explain it before then, but you did fine tonight, you're getting better.
When you say you didn't explain it before.
The dollars amount, the statement.
Well, that's all been discussed at a public meeting.
Not as,
Yeah, I mean, you approved the.
I approved of it.
Well, there was a motion to approve the acceptance of the check from Travelers Bond for 62 and one for 5,000 from Cincinnati. That was all done in a public meeting.
Is that the?
I mean, yeah, and there was discussion here, Mr. Mills reported to you that the DA refuses to prosecute, and he wanted to go to the Attorney General, and he offered, there was a motion made for him to send a letter, and you voted against that letter being sent. So that was done in a public meeting. You know, everything that I've just said here was already discussed at a public meeting. Again, I don't want to get into refuting everything you said, but both of these are on the agenda for tonight. So I want the public to know why we have these executive sessions for litigation matters. It's, you know, like I said, you just never know what can be said there. You know, there's a reason for the attorney-client privilege. I mean, it's one of the most sacred legal privileges that there is. The next is the doctor-patient privilege. And obviously, we all know why you have that privilege. You know, you want to, the doctor needs to know what you know, how to treat you adequately. And you need to be able to freely tell them what caused this injury, what caused this disease, so he can treat you. You know, and that's why all that stuff is confidential. So you know.
I'll come up with some more examples if I see any.
I'm sure you will.
I'll
You
try
want
to.
executive session now?
Well, we can do it now, or we can do, again, I have no problem doing that at the end of the meeting. That way, if the public
Okay,
doesn't
let's
want
do that.
to hang
You
around.
guys did all that, George?
Yeah.
Peter?
Yeah, that's good.
So we'll go on to B, the Christ Apostolic Church, the real estate tax assessment appeal. As he just indicated, he needs us to decide if we want him to proceed forward, or we want him to just withdraw himself from this.
Say again?
Well, do you want me to intervene
Intervene with this.
and become involved? Oh, okay.
I don't,
Do you want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye. So the answer's no.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, new business. Now, as I said, under new business, we're going to start a public comment for the new business at this time for 15 minutes. It's to deal with what's under new business. If you've had a chance to review the new business and you have any questions, this would be the time to ask the questions. Yes.
So it appears like Brian resigned, and you already accepted his resignation a few moments ago.
Yes.
In the beginning, when Father Kaiholtz nominated Nikki as roadmaster, I think he used the term interim. So
Yes,
my question then is, are you now going to advertise for a roadmaster?
We're going to discuss that, I think. I got my thoughts on that. I think there needs to be some true justification as far as a full-time position as a roadmaster. I really don't, personally, I'll say it right now, I don't feel that we have a need for a full-time roadmaster. I think you look at the money and what we got, I mean, I can show you where today he cold patched and trimmed a bush, you know, in the 7 3/4 hours at $26 an hour plus pension and other things. But you look down that list of what gets done, I have a hard time with it. I have a hard time.
In the past, up until a few years ago, the roadmaster position, well, the road crew position was considered part-time. It wasn't until, I think, Mr. Miller, the supervisor, that he turned around and made the position a full-time position, with Brian being. And then Mr. Miller was the roadmaster, Supervisor Miller was the roadmaster at that time. And then once he passed on, then Brian was made full-time and also made the roadmaster at the time. I agree with Mr. Cardinals. We need to evaluate the position. determine if we need a full-time position, if we can do without it. And that's something we need to evaluate and look at. If we can subcontract with all this work out, like Freedom Township, they have 2 part-timers in their township, father, son, matter of fact, been there for 30-plus years. They do the mowing, they do the plowing on the roads, and everything else is farmed out, everything. They set up with Josh and they get, the projects ready for the summer, they contract the contractors, and they take them out for bids, and they present them to the board, and then the contractors come and do the rest. So they're not paying the comp time, and workers' comp, they're not paying benefits or nothing. So it's definitely something for us to look at, especially with our budget that we have. We have to look at all the options of that. I know in our township specifically, all the other supervisors, Billy Brent and the rest of them guys, they all work part-time. I don't know if any of them work full-time that I know of, up until, I think it was Brian. I think Brian was the first.
I think you're right, Brian was the first full-time.
He was the first full-time. And, that's the same way, nothing with Lenny, I'm not saying you, no. But absolutely true. If you remember correctly, our secretary, treasurer was a part-time position. And those 2 positions became full-time at the same exact time.
Can I put our 2 cents in as auditors?
Yeah,
We have questioned right from the very beginning of when we started looking at pay stubs, what you call it, the thing he put in, and what he had written out for what he had done for we had questioned it right from the very beginning, asking why was he getting such a high salary and doesn't look like very much per hour sort of thing, work done. We questioned it right from the very beginning, sorry.
That's why we asked for a bigger form, so we could detail it better.
Well, I think Bobby's right now, I agree about it. We need to be fiscally responsible and look at all options in the township. Are we spending the money, the taxpayer money in a proper manner, or are we just overspending and wasting money? And there's some areas in the township for years, for many, many years, the money was being wasted, absolutely wasted. As I said during the budget process, when you got a budget of $300,000 and $200,000 added to your employees, and you got $100,000 operational, that's not in the best interest of the township. That's all about paying your employees an extravagant amount of money, and I don't think that's fiscally right. That's what we're gonna do, we're gonna evaluate that position and see what happens.
Makes sense.
Any other questions?
I'd like to make a comment. I'm going to commend you on that, thank you. But seeing that we don't need a full-time roadmaster, that's good. The other one is this, Mickey, a while back you wanted to have ag taxes by 1 mil, which would have brought us more than double the amount of taxes we're already paying. Why did you want to do that?
I'm not gonna respond to that, that's in the past, it's done. If you came to our budget meeting,
I'll let you know.
like I say, I said the budget meetings
I'll let
exactly
you know
why.
I sat through it all.
Yeah.
But I think the other thing I'd like to know too, because.
Well, a lot of these people were here during our budget meetings, and they heard my reason for it. My reason was very clear. We have $600,000 in road repair work right now that needs to be done, right now. And that's if we've done everything in the roads that need to be addressed. Things in this township has not been addressed, Agatha, for more than 5 years. Very minimal stuff has been addressed. We have ditching that is clogged up and running across our roads, which is breaking our roads apart when they freeze. We have culvert pipes that are clogged. We have roads that are crumbling to pieces. We just spent, this past year, we spent $80,000 to do stoops and to do Liberty Hall. And guess what? We need $15,000 to open up the canopy, because if we don't open the canopy up on that road, it's gonna freeze and everything we just spent all the money on is gonna pop open and break apart. And we don't have money in our budget to do these things. So our biggest thing we're supposed to do as township supervisors is to maintain the integrity of the infrastructure of our township. That's our biggest thing. And if we don't have money to put in our roads, but in everything else, and the only way you can do that is through taxation. You cannot make it like we've had here over the past 5 or 6 years. We have fees stuck in here, and people were being overcharged for their sewer systems to be pumped that they shouldn't have been charged. they had all these excess fees. We are not allowed by law to put fees on residents, period. The only way we can generate income in this township is through taxation, period. That's it. And the high taxes that people keep talking about, it's not from this township, but that school board. And you sit on that school board with me. You know exactly where the taxes, your high taxes come from. It's not from the township. It's from the school board.
Oh, I realize that.
Absolutely.
I
So,
realize, however,
but we still have to be able to maintain these roads, to buy a new truck.
however, doubling it
Wasn't
is,
doubling.
is
It wasn't
a
doubling.
huge jump.
It wasn't doubling.
No, it wasn't.
It was not doubling it. I don't care who told you that or where you got that from. It was definitely not doubling it. Because part of that tax increase was already there for the fire tax that calculated into that. And it was not doubling by no means.
I've lost where we are on this agenda.
We're still under public comment.
We're under public comment on the new business.
We added them.
So, any other thing you have for new business? Adam?
Right here.
I thought it had to be about the new business.
That is, the new business was resignation, roadmaster.
Point
Something to
taken.
do with finance.
So, is any comments under new business?
About new business.
That's
That was
what
the comment.
Yeah.
This isn't on the agenda, but
Well,
it wasn't mentioned, but there was a press release about the bicycle trail.
yes.
And I just wanted to bring that to people's attention, because I didn't know if it
Everybody
was.
get a copy of that?
On the market.
There's a copy on the back table for this trail. Thanks.
And just for information, the tentative trail that they're looking at to go through Liberty would come down Middle Creek, Wenshaw, to Stoltz, to Boyle, to Irishtown, and Amherstburg.
Can you repeat that? Middle Creek, so fast.
Middle Creek to Wenshaw.
Wenshaw,
Okay.
Stoltz,
To where?
Boyle,
And Boyle.
to Irishtown.
Oh, okay.
I mean, that's kind of, and this is a study.
Yes.
But
We have to look at the map on it.
but if anybody has interest in that, just be aware.
What's the date of that meeting since you're just bringing up? Why don't we just announce
January
it?
27th, which is Monday.
First in the evening.
5:30, 7:30.
Okay, and we'll be sure to add it to, we'll announce it at our next meeting that we have, which is
Yeah,
before
and
that.
I'll probably appear in the Gettysburg Times, too,
Okay.
because this is a press release.
All right, if we have no more comments under new business,
About new business.
about new business, we're gonna move on to our agenda. A is consider a motion to adopt resolution 2020-01, eliminating employee contributions to the police pension plan for 2020. Do I have a motion for that? We do it every year.
I know, but I don't know what it's even about, but since we do it every year, I'll make a
So,
motion.
okay.
Do you want, maybe you can explain it. like
I
this.
was just gonna say, yeah, we eliminate we don't force them to, make a contribution.
Yeah, they're not putting in money yet.
That's what it is.
Okay.
It just needs to be done as part of some regulation. in
I'll
order
make a
to
motion that we
be
do that.
compliant.
I do understand.
Thank you.
You have a second, sir.
All in favor?
Aye.
B, consider a motion to adopt resolution 2020-2, the fee schedule for administration of the Sewer Facilities Act and the appointment of a sewer officer. Do you have those in front of you?
And that was, we spoke to, KPI, it had been, many years since, the fees were updated, and, we needed to get the fees adjusted and be more current. Because these are fees that, they charge the citizens, and then we have to pay them, so it needs to balance out. As rates and costs.
What I'll do is for everyone, I'll read this in case you don't have it. An application fee is $250. For each additional visit to the site, it'll be $125. For each test pit over 4 is $25. Perk test, $350 for your perk test. Permit fees for single-family residents, $345. Then they have A, B, C, and D, 150 square feet to 1,000 square feet is $325 for a permit. 1,001 to 2,500 is $375. 2501 to 5,000 square feet is 500. 5,001 to 10,000 is 600. Then you have a transfer application or a permit, $150. Permit fees for holding tank is $250. And then a permit fee to repair on-site is $200. And any additional repair permits are $125. Yearly inspection, a fee to inspect on-site sewage systems, is required to inspection is $150. Those are the fees set by KPI.
Will be sent out.
Yeah, we set by the township. Have a motion to accept that?
I haven't seen that. I really haven't. It's not my fault.
Mr. Jackson,
It's in my
and I
file.
sent it to you weeks ago when we first drafted it, and I said that it would be, and I said the old one with it for comparison. It would be,
That's what I was gonna
several
ask.
weeks
Where's
ago.
the old one?
I sent it back to you several weeks ago, I didn't include it because we were now at the point of the draft.
That's what Nick was reading. I don't know that I have the old one.
You may not have been on the email chain at that time, that really was when Mr. Bostic was on.
How does this compare with the old one?
It's,
Totally different?
no, it's not totally different. I don't wanna,
I
I don't wanna defend it, you wanna postpone that?
Yeah, I would like to table it until at least I can.
Then let's go ahead and table it until.
I just don't want to approve stuff that I haven't read or understand.
We're gonna table this to our workshop meeting.
Yes, let's table, we can table it to the
I'm sure it's all
work.
right, but I gotta know what about saving money.
And then in the meantime,
Go ahead.
thank you.
Hey!
Hey,
Leave quietly.
okay, so,
Pardon?
What if you have a problem between now and the workshop?
then the current, we have rates in
The
place.
current one's still in effect.
So the only thing would be that if some are lower, then people who are applying for permits now will go to the lower rate, but we may not have it offset quite as much because the rates we're being charged might, or, it costs more than what the fee schedule is. It was, I reached out to them and asked them to adjust the fee schedule. Bob, this is the in and out, where we get checks in, and then we pay, the fees out. And they were starting to not balance anymore, so I asked KPI to look it over, review it, and adjust it accordingly to be a more fair rate. But yes, I will redistribute this, with the old, but I did send that to you several weeks ago. And now with Mr. Fryhold's in office, he'll need to see that as well for review. So we'll put it on the agenda for the workshop.
Okay.
Number C is consider a motion for set knowledge rate for the township reimbursement. The federal rate is 57.5 for 2020. Do I have a motion to accept that as the knowledge?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept it.
No, second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're gonna go down to point the representatives to the different positions of the meetings that go around, as we discussed on January 2nd. Hopefully we all agree on this, we just go right by.
Yeah, we already talked.
Isn't that what we did, or did you change your vote of what you want to be on?
We agreed at the beginning of the last meeting, we weren't gonna make any decisions at that meeting.
Right.
And
All right,
we
so,
didn't.
okay,
I didn't.
okay.
You don't have to read them, Becky.
Oh, no,
You need to,
I need them all down.
Well, we haven't agreed to them yet.
Right, and we'll go through it.
that's what we're gonna do, we'll go through them, and then we need to say we're gonna do what. Adams County Tax Bureau. We have, we're gonna split that between the three supervisors, you're in agreement to split it between the three supervisors.
You're asking me, I'm in agreement to split everything among the three supervisors.
Well, okay, that's what we're doing. All right, so we'll go down this.
Now, there's some things we don't have to maybe attend.
Right.
We ought to strike those out, starting at the bottom of the page.
Well, I'm saying, but the York Adams Tax Bureau, we're gonna split those meetings, between the three supervisors.
They have
Have a motion for that?
12 a year,
Mhm.
and, okay.
That's the one down in York.
Yeah, that's the one work out. Who's gonna draw up the plan?
I will, if all three of you are gonna do that, I'll make up schedules for these, and then in a rotation schedule.
And we still, I think we ought to have a third alternate too. We have
Yes,
the
we will.
township and alternate one and alternate two,
Yes,
and understand that if necessary,
We're
we
proxy.
can swap,
exactly.
because that's what we've been doing so far.
I'll put the schedule together like that, we'll show you the primary for that month, and then we'll just keep rotating.
Okay.
Okay,
I'll put that together, and then you ask for a motion to, do it that way?
yes.
To do, I'll split all the ones that we're gonna check off right now, yes, that way. I believe.
Oh, you're not gonna vote one by one?
Yeah, we are,
One by one?
yeah. So you're at Adams Tax Bureau, we're gonna
Okay.
split 3 ways.
Yep.
I'll make a motion for that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Adams County Tax Committee, it
Same.
meets on February 6th, June 6th, August the 1st, and November.
Same,
Same thing there?
split 3 ways.
You make a motion,
I'll make it a motion.
second it?
Aye.
Okay, all in favor? Adams County Council of Governments. All right, we have on here, Mr. Jackson, you as a primary. That's the 8:30 meeting on the Thursday of each month, the fourth Thursday. Mr. Robin Conrad, you would be an alternate. Are you willing to be an alternate for that position?
Yeah.
All right?
Yeah, we'll split it 3 ways.
No, not that one.
Why not?
Well, because I can't do any 8:30 meetings ever.
You can in June and July and August and December.
Oh, yeah, I could.
Yeah, you could.
I could do that in June, July, August.
I don't want to deprive you.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
Well, I don't know, if I'm not doing hay in that time, I won't be doing that either, but anyhow. All right, the COGS legislation meeting, third,
Make a motion,
We'll
I
make
make
a
a
motion.
motion, we split that 3 ways.
You did that, thank you.
second. All in
Second.
favor,
Aye.
Adams County Council, Adams County COGS meeting.
Legislative committee,
I make a motion, we split that 3 ways.
agreed,
Agree.
seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Adams County Borough Associations.
Now,
Uh,
that's it's a borough association, but it's not it's not as mandatory as the others. It can go on a voluntary basis.
I just want to point out that we are a member of the Boroughs Association, however they let us be, and that is what has opened up the opportunity for this, training that we're going to be attending at the discount.
right.
So that is
Right.
beneficial.
Yeah, I'll change my mind and say split 3 ways.
Thank you.
The third Monday of each month, okay, sounds good. All right, then we
I
have,
second that motion.
all in favor?
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. Fairfield Regional EM, Emergency Association meets meets the third Monday in February and every other month.
I'll make a motion, we split that 3 ways also.
Okay,
Seconded.
all in favor?
Aye.
All right, Fire Department. Fire Department meets the third quarter on Monday. Right now, I was the appointed person last year, I'm going to do it again. Bobby, you want to do that, or you guys want to split it 3 ways?
3 ways.
3 ways, okay.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, all in favor says aye.
Aye.
Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, does everybody want to split that 3 ways?
For all fire department
Yeah.
meetings? Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so a motion to split all the fire department?
I'll put that in the same motion, so,
Mhm.
thank you.
Adams County Association of Township Officials.
That's just nominate someone if they want to attend.
Yeah, Bob, you like attending that?
It's a useless meeting,
It is.
and so I say we don't have to, we
Okay. we're
don't.
not-
You're off the hook on it, aren't you?
For 2 years.
I'll be the secretary in rotation, or not me, Liberty Township will provide the secretary in 2 years.
In 2 years?
Yeah.
Okay, so we don't have anything coming up in this year?
No, this is just the annual conference. Mr.
No,
Barlow, Mr. Kyle's attended this year. They can offer their opinion on the annual conference.
yeah, no, you can-
It was $10 and we got a meal.
And you get $50, and you can get $50.
And we got
to
$50
attend.
for attending, that's
you
right.
just have to spend 3 weeks in Hershey?
No,
No, that's
no,
the
this is the one evening in Hanover.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh,
one
okay.
evening in Hanover.
Oh, we have a sword.
I make a motion that we skip that until Lindy is back in rotation.
Okay.
All right, second.
Out.
All in favor?
So,
Aye.
no.
Aye.
All right, last one is the Pennsylvania State Association of Township Supervisors. That's that yearly meeting in April for 3 days.
That's the PSAT.
That's the PSAT meeting in Hershey. Well, we can't split that 3 ways.
Or you couldn't they all three go?
No,
Well, you only have one voting. Is that what you're talking about? Who's gonna vote for you
Yeah.
there?
Yeah, so you attend and you vote.
Right.
Yeah, you only have one.
Last year it was myself and nobody else. This year I'm willing to do it, and Bobby's also said he was willing to do it.
Flip a coin,
Okay.
I'll
So-
give up the privilege.
You're gonna go to PZAC?
So Mr. Giles,
Thank you, because that is.
All right.
That didn't take long at all, did it?
No, you can take over.
do you get a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll second that motion.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you wanna touch on the other topics that are on that sheet?
I thought we just did them all.
What sheet are you looking at? The one that goes in your packet?
You got us a new and revised.
It's in your packet. That, I gave you the old one for you to refer to when you were having the meeting, but included in your packet, there, I was asking for someone to look at, to control the hazard mitigation, the Comcast contract, the codification project.
Wait a minute.
Grand History Trail bike path.
That would have been in your work packet.
Mr. Roquette's on the,
That's right.
yeah, Mr. Roquette.
Yeah, he's on there, and it's already listed that he's on there. Just, it's just showing other, committees and issues that need a supervisor's oversight.
Well, wasn't he doing that hazard mitigation?
I didn't John right.
That's,
Is that John?
that's just being formed, and it's not really laid out very carefully yet. There has been a smattering of information about it, so I can't say whether it's,
We,
I think we have to, if we want to do it, but there's nothing that's,
nothing in there says when it is.
is what?
It would have been in all the millions of documents and emails that I sent you at the time.
You remember all those?
No.
Is it part of something Primo is working on, I guess is what, yeah, so Primo's working on that.
Well, and the county's working on it.
And, yes, it's in conjunction with Primo.
That Vicky,
Redmond.
she's the one.
You know, anybody have any interest in that?
Why don't we let's wait to see what
All
develops.
right, do you want to just table that till the workshop and we'll look into that a little bit more and we'll discuss it then? How about that?
Yeah.
All right, workshop.
Comcast contract.
We aren't, ours isn't up until 2022.
But you did see the communication where it's giving us a timeline for actions and steps that need to be taken. It's in the packet.
Yeah, I saw that. We can do that, but it doesn't require any great negotiating or anything. What we're doing is improving.
Well, within 6 months, they want us, is it 6 months? I don't remember.
It's in the packet.
Yeah.
I can't memorize it.
I think it was something like
We
that.
can, we can settle it informally, or else then they're gonna go to the formal negotiation process. And,
6 months, yeah.
most of my townships are usually settled within the 6 months, because the formal negotiation process is just,
And the 6 months would have started when we received the letter, which was October. So we're already a few months in.
All right, well,
So someone probably should start and make sure we're meeting the proper deadlines and getting it done.
I'll do that. I was on the
Oh,
committee
you-
before. I'll do it again.
Okay, so you want to oversee that? We can work with you and we can see what we have and we'll talk. You did meet last year with the other people who were getting their contracts.
Yep.
Meeting.
They were going through the formal,
Yes.
but their contract was up. I'm not sure. This is
No. Okay, so Bob's gonna do
You
that?
want to nominate him or something?
So I'll nominate Bob to be the chair on that.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes, codification project. Well, this is, I'll take it.
Okay, great.
Yes.
You want to make a motion to take it?
I'll make a motion to have Mickey Barlow, Mr. Barlow head up the codification project.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
And the other one, we already have Mr. O'Kelley. That's,
Okay.
all right. Okay. Southwest Group Curbside Collection Municipal. So we gotta choose our municipal collector.
Is that, Adams County has come to us and asked us if we would like to extend the contract with Parks. Is that?
Yes.
So that we have an additional time to look at the contract and have negotiation. So they're asking for it to consider extending the contract for them.
I've been attending those meetings in the parks, seems to be much better than anybody else we've had, and it seems to be the experience of other people, so I would extend the contract.
You're making a
I'm
motion.
making a motion to extend that.
I will second.
All in favor?
I will report it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Fine.
Aye.
And I'll let County know.
And 2020 update flood plan ordinance. Figure that.
I know, so, again, there's a timeline for that. We need to have our ordinance updated. I just want someone to oversee the project. I don't expect the board member to rewrite the ordinance, but you need to make sure that we're, getting it out there, having someone review it and getting it back in time.
That's something that wouldn't get caught up in the codification project, would it?
No, this is completely separate. FEMA, or not FEMA, puts out the flood maps and they set the schedule for that.
That's due by July 22nd, 2020.
Yeah, it has to be completely done and adopted by that time.
But they're doing most of the work for us, aren't they?
We have to do the ordinance.
Yeah, we got to just drop an ordinance.
Yes, we have to take our ordinance or get a draft ordinance from county or something and get it worked on. I think county might be working, and I'll have to check on this, I think Adams County might be working with other townships, and there are resources available. I just put this on here so that one of you can say, I will oversee and make sure all these steps get taken care of.
Well, is FEMA, are they redrawing any of your?
No, ours are done. They said, as is, no one objected to them at the several public meetings they received no comments on our maps, and our maps will be adopted as is.
Yeah, we can't change them either, right?
No,
Even if we wanted to.
No.
Yeah.
They had an open period for comments and changes, but I guess they didn't receive
Well,
it.
why don't you, and I can't think of the gentleman's name, no, the planning commission, Haley?
Rob Taylor?
Yeah,
Yes.
I would.
No, I agree, and I have all the contact information of who needs to be working on this. I'm personally asking a supervisor to oversee the project.
Oh,
Just to
okay.
say, all right, these things, they can report on it, if there are meetings to attend, or decisions that the township needs to consider, then I just, I just would like the supervisor to oversee that project. I obviously will do all the paperwork, the mailings, the scheduling of the meetings, and, anything that needs taken up.
I'll step up.
Okay.
We'll nominate Bobby to take the lead on this. Your second?
Second.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Alright. Adams County, waste mitigation, that's one.
No, that's the website migration, are you looking at the last item?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're migrating to a new platform, and there's just gonna be some costs involved. It was $100. They're currently hosting us $60 annually for them to host our website, and they're just asking, if we would pay them $100, because they're asking all the townships and municipalities that they're hosting to pay a setup fee, and that's what they're asking for.
Okay.
Otherwise, if we say no, then we get off their website and we have to go out and find another, which is an option, and that's not your prerogative, but.
Yeah, it's like, cause you just got on that.
Yeah, we did. But they're upgrading and enhancing their website, and there's a cost involved, and so they're just, saying that would be our portion.
So it goes from $60 a month to $100?
No, it does not. A one-time fee of $100 for this migration, and $60 annually, not monthly.
I make a motion that we
Thank
accept
you.
that website migration.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Alrighty, that's all we have under that. We seem to have to do an executive session for our bond claim. But if you would like to stay, you may, if you don't, you don't have to. We're gonna go to executive session.
Wait, it's for the road match. The executive session for the road match. Right.
In addition to the
Oh,
bond.
and the bond.
We did the march.
No, there were some recent emails that we got today. We did not say.
What's up?
Yeah, what's the-